I'm calling in regard to the guided meditation, which brings up for me some very deep issues, which I'm working on throughout my life, and that is that there's a very conflicted in that there's a part of me that very much wants to all the things that you presumably have to offer, and yet when there's a part of me that fights it. I mean, of course, I know this is universal. That with me, it seems it shows up very dramatically, and so.
Tell me how the dramatic way that it. What do you experience when you say there's a part of me that fights it? By the way, I do think that is quite common to varying degrees, but I would be interested in knowing how your particular makeup experiences that.
Well, I'm sitting and having the guided meditation, and then there is an expectation. I mean, sometimes in a meditation you say just experience whatever you're experiencing, but in this meditation you're saying, try to get into that experiencing the love, and there's a certain direction that's supposed to happen, and then there's this voice inside that says, "Oh no, you're going to screw this up. This is not going to happen," and I start to get very anxious. And then the question is, okay, should I really continue this meditation? I mean, I could say, when you said that some people are very good with wisdom and some with love, I'm very good with wisdom. But one thing I'm not very wise at is, should I make the choice to just open up to whatever I'm feeling, even though I'm actually not opening up at all? Or am I just hurting myself? And should I stop this guided meditation?
Well, first of all, if you feel like there's something about it that feels like it's hurting you, let's say, then no, I don't. I wouldn't want you or anybody to do something guided meditation or otherwise. It feels like they're hurt. It's hurting them. But I would. I think it is. It's really important to look at, there's something in me that resists it. And I would just ask, can I actually just stop with that? And can I just feel that resistance? And just see what that's like, and not think I have to have a different experience. By the way, just so you know, Steve, is every time I've ever, guided, done anything like this, especially when I do it, I've done it live here or when people are right in front of me. It's very, very, very common that I get a question because it often evokes, deeper underlying conditioning around love and the disappointments or the lack of love, or, it could be 101 other very challenging experiences that give us a kind of negative relationship to all this. It could even be, like you said, I'm going to fail at this. This isn't my thing. I'm not going to feel love, and then if I don't, I'll feel like I fail. Remember, at least as far as I'm concerned, is you can't fail at having whatever experience you're having. Whatever experience you're having, you're having. And so in that sense, there's no failure with this. Okay. The only failure is to go, well, I'm going to reject the experience that I'm having. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to try to get rid of it. So even if it's fear or disappointment or resistance or whatever there's associations within almost all of us to openness, to love, because, it's the lack of boundaries for people can be very, very frightening. It can evoke, all sorts of fears, or sometimes it will come in the form of anger or rage or disappointment, and all that's fine. Again, it's not about, the goal isn't to have the correct experience. The goal is to just have whatever's happening and really be there for it. Because
Right.
you can have a sense of compassion for the fact that something in you resists it.
So I could just say, okay, well, it's like he's giving this meditation, and it's for a certain purpose, but I'm working with it in my own way, in a different way, and I can choose to do that and see what I get out of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's one thing that another question it brings up when you're saying if you see it's hurting you. Of course, it's not that it's hurting me. It's my relationship with it is hurting me.
Right.
Or how I'm dealing. Not even that, but how I guess my doubting and struggling with it.
Yeah.
And another thing is, and I don't. There's a program another program I'm doing now, which is a number of weeks long, and there's an and what you just said brings up this question. In this program, it's supposed to be very intense, and there's even an expectation that a lot of resistance will come up.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, have a commitment beforehand that no matter what, you're going to stick through it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so that brings up that question again. Okay, at what point do I, I kind of made that commitment. No matter what, I'm going to stick through it.
Mm-hmm.
But I get. So my feeling about it is, well, unless it's something that is absolutely harming me physically in some way, I'm going to stick through it, even if it's very, very painful.
Yes.
So
I understand, and I understand the issue and the kind of question that's behind it. I mean, what I would say, whether it's a guided meditation or some other program, that you really commit to. I mean, I've asked people to have their own sort of sense of commitment with this program as well. But sometimes the thing is I think the important thing for you to remember is the ball's in your court, right? You get to make all the decisions for you. I never ask anybody to abdicate their authority to me, nor did I think they ever should.
Right.
And sometimes things that can be very helpful aren't always comfortable. Sometimes to experience our own resistance and go, you know what, this is going to be what I'm going to explore because I really want to get a deeper understanding of this. I really want to penetrate through this, and it may not be comfortable. But the important thing is do I have an underlying sense that, that even if it's not comfortable, that it's actually a good thing for me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because just how we feel at any given moment doesn't necessarily mean that even we ourselves feel that it's whether it's good for us or not good for us. I can tell you in my, when I was with my teacher and at certain retreats, I mean, there were times where everything in me wanted to run out the door. And yet I often had this very quiet intuition that told me, you know what, you might want to run out the door, but it's really important that you don't.
And sometimes sometimes I feel that, and sometimes I start questioning. It's hard. I can't always get in touch with that intuition.
Yeah. Well, just remember, it's all in your court. It's always in your court.
One other thing that kind of heightens that in the drama of that is he also says that if you decide to do it, stick through it. It's better not, if you're not going to stick through it, better not to start.
Mm. Well,
but I have started.
Okay. I would bring the question to whoever's doing the course.
He's not available.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're going to have to bring it. You're going to have to bring it to yourself. I certainly don't want to, answer the question for somebody else's.
It's a self-help. I'm working with a book. I'm not in touch with him about it.
I got it.
although I do have somebody a therapist who's very familiar with it, and they can help support me with that.
Yeah,
too.
I would maybe reach out for a little support there if you feel like it's going to be useful for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
okay.
sometimes it can just relieve a kind of pressure when you that of course you know this rationally, that what you do or choose not to do and decide what's useful for you or not useful for you is all in your court. But sometimes it can just help to relieve pressure, just to remind you of that. Like, nothing's being imposed upon me here. It's all in my court. And it can kind of take some of the fear out of it, like, okay, everything's all right. Nothing's being forced upon me. This is all my
right.
decision.
Yeah, and even when he says, well, better not to start if you're not complete, it's not God saying that.
No, it's not. No, it's take it as a suggestion.
Thank you so much, Adyashanti. That's great.
You bet, Steve.
You've been a great help.
Thank you. Good. I'm glad. Be well.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. And yes, of course, when we endeavor to do something, say like this course, of course, it's not uncommon at all that you'll bump into your fears and your resistances. And like I said, sometimes it can evoke any other kinds of sort of, masking or competing emotions, because, many people have their own fears around being open and open-heartedness and intimacy and, all of these things. So sometimes even doing a little guided meditation might evoke some of those. But I would just suggest that if it does, that remember you can bring a kind of compassionate attitude even to your own resistance. You see, sometimes we think it's like, oh, I'm feeling resistance, therefore I failed, or therefore I can't find the love. But you can have a compassionate attitude even for your own resistance. And sometimes imagining if your experience was happening to a best friend of yours, what would you tell them? Because sometimes that can help get you in touch with your own wiser nature. Just to imagine for a moment or two like somebody came to you with the question rather than you coming to me, for instance. And sometimes it's amazing how often the doors of wisdom and compassion can open up when we are imagining it's someone else, but whatever you experience, you can meet it with that combination of wisdom. Sometimes it even takes the form of a kind of determination, or as I often say, intention, and also with kindness, with compassion, even for your own unkindness at times, even for your own fear, for your own hesitation. So always remember, you can bring a softer attitude to anything you experience. And often when you do that, it starts to open that experience up, because so much of our resistances are just covering over something that's at least feels more tender or vulnerable. And it's only by ultimately opening up to those places that we discover that they're often not nearly as vulnerable as we might have imagined.